Welcome to my channel. I am Dr. Sunil Kumar M. Osmani, Assistant Professor of Mathematics at Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi. So today I am going to discuss on this very important result in ring theory, that is every finite integral domain is a field. Okay. So before that, just recall the definitions which I have discussed in my last lecture. So first one is a field. Second one, skew field or division ring. And third one, a regular element, or is also called units. So suppose this is a ring R, okay, and this ring is said to be a field. First condition is that it should be a commutative ring. That is, suppose for example any two elements, say A and B, in this ring, their product that is AB equal to BA. Suppose if I multiply A and B, and AB must be equal to BA here. Okay, that is, it should be commutative with respect to multiplication. Okay, and one more important is that it should contain unit element. Okay, it should contain a unit element, and every non-zero element, suppose A is non-zero in R, okay, then A inverse exist. Okay, so a ring is, in any ring, suppose in any commutative ring, okay, in any commutative ring, suppose with unit element, and every non-zero element has a inverse, okay, then we call it as a field. Okay, so it should be a ring, a commutative ring with unit element and inverse exist for every non-zero element. And skew field is what? Same condition without or with commutative ring. Okay, so here in a field, a ring must be a commutative ring. Okay, but in skew field, sometimes it may not be commutative ring. Okay, so same condition applies for what are the conditions present in field, and same conditions also exist for skew field without this condition, that is commutative ring. It may or may not be a commutative ring. Okay, so this is the only difference between ring and division ring and field. Okay, and regular element means suppose A belongs to R, okay, and so A inverse belongs to R implies that A is a regular element. Okay, that is, so for any non-zero element in R, suppose A inverse exists, means then that element is called a regular element or units. Okay, so one more important definition which is required for today's lecture is what? Integral domain. So integral domain, so definition of integral domain is, in a ring R, okay, in a ring R, for any two non-zero element, okay, A and B are non-zero, and their product must be non-zero here. Okay, so integral domain is, it's a ring. Integral domain is a ring without zero divisors. Okay, so integral domain is a ring without zero divisors. Okay, so that is, for any non-zero elements A and B, their product must be non-zero. Okay, Okay, next with this background, consider one important result which is related to congruence modulo n, that is Zn is not a field when n is not a prime number. N is not a prime number. Okay. So here Zn, we know that Zn is a field, Zn is a ring with respect to addition and multiplication. Okay, so Zn is a ring of residual class modulo n. Okay, so this is a ring, and this ring is not a field. Okay, when n is not a prime number. Okay. That is, for example, if I consider Z2, Z3, Z7, Z11. Okay, so these all are prime rings. Therefore, these all are fields here. Okay, according to this result. Okay, suppose if I consider Z10. Okay, you can observe that this is not a prime number here. Okay, therefore this is not a field. Okay, so this one-way statement is there. Okay, your Zn is not a field when n is not a prime number. Okay, so this is Z10. 10 is not a prime number, therefore this is not a field. So let us look at the proof of this result. So we are proving this result by a contradiction method. Suppose, first consider if n is not a prime number, then n can be written like this: n equal to m1 times m2. Okay, so that is, for example, 12 is not a prime number, so we can write like this: 3 and 4. Okay, so here 3 and 4 are divisors of 12 here. Okay, so consider if n is not a prime number, then n can be written like this: n equal to m1 into m2, where m1 and m2 are proper divisors of, where here you can write where m1 and m2 are proper divisors of n. Okay, so similarly here you can see that 12 is not a prime number, so these are the proper divisors of 12 here. So next step is, so here we can write, hence if I consider any two non-prime numbers, say m1 and m2, if I take product of those two, so m1 times m2 bar, so which is equal to n bar. So this is this is in congruence modulo n here. Okay, so that is, for example, if I consider a table of multiplication modulo 4, okay, 0, 1, 2 and 3 are the elements. Okay, 0, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so if I multiply 2 and 2, I'll get a 0 here. Okay, so therefore which is equal to 0. Okay, so which is 0 here. So here you can observe that m1 and m2 are, since m1 bar and m2 bar are non-zero elements, okay, therefore but their product is what? M1 bar times M2 bar equal to N bar, so which is 0. Okay, so 0 means which implies that Zn is not an integral domain here. Okay, integral domain, because if it is an integral domain means their product must be non-zero here. Okay, but here I am taking any two non-zero element, say M1 bar and M2 bar, but their product is equal to N bar, so which is equal to 0 in congruence modulo N here. Therefore Zn is not an integral domain. Okay, therefore which implies that Zn is not a field. Okay, so this is the proof of that result. That is, if Zn is not a field, if n is not a prime number. Okay, but certainly you can see that the converse of the above result is not true, because we know that set of integers with the addition and multiplication, so this is a ring with integers, ring of integers. Okay, so this is a ring of integers, so which is an clearly it is an integral domain. Okay, so ring of integers is an integral domain. Okay, so that is for any two non-zero elements in that ring, their product is always non-zero. Okay, so this is an integral domain, but you can see that this is not a field. Okay, so this is what converse of that theorem. Okay, so converse of the above result is not true, because ring of integers is an integral domain, but this is not a field. Okay, this is a counterexample for that result. So, but if I consider finite case, okay, if I consider finite case, okay, then the result is true. That is, if R is finite, okay, so this is a ring. Okay, suppose here R is finite, then the result is true. That is, converse of previous result is true. That is, okay, so today's important result, so statement of that result is that let R be a finite integral domain. Let R be a finite integral domain, then R is a field. Okay, that is what every finite integral domain is a field. Okay, so first condition, so here R is a finite integral domain. Okay, so this is given, R is a finite integral domain. Okay, so next we have to prove that R is a field. Okay, so given here is R be a finite integral domain. Okay, so integral domain means any two non-zero element, their product is non-zero. Okay, to prove that R is the field, so first check out the conditions of a field. Okay, so field means it must be a commutative ring with unit element. A field is a commutative ring with unit element. Commutative ring with unit element, okay, and every non-zero element has an inverse, okay. So this is definition of a field, okay. But in integral domain, so integral domain is so basically it's a ring where AB is not equal to 0 if A is not equal to 0 and B is not equal to 0, okay. So basically integral domain is a ring here with these two conditions. So here remaining condition is what? So remaining conditions are remaining conditions here we have to prove is that first one is there exists a unit element. This is very important. First we have to prove that R containing unit element okay. So this is first result we have to prove. Second one, every non-zero element must have inverse, okay. If I prove these two conditions, then I am done with the proof. That is, every finite integral domain is a field, okay. So only thing is we have to prove these two conditions. That is, in a finite integral domain, R, every finite integral domain containing a unit element. First I have to prove this condition, and second condition is that every non-zero element must have inverse, okay. If these two conditions are proved, then this will be a proof of that result, okay. So let us look at the proof. So first we shall show that ring R has a unit element, okay. So this is our first condition. First we have to show that this ring R has a unit element. So let us consider R is equal to, say, A1, A2, so on to AN. So first you have to observe that R is a finite here. R is a finite ring, or R is a finite integral domain. Consider this set be the distinct elements of R, okay. So consider a set R where these all are distinct elements, okay. Then the elements, say A times A1, A times A2, A times A3, and so on up to A times AN. These elements, so these all belongs to these all elements belongs to R, and all are distinct elements here, okay. Because if I consider consider this set 2, 3, 6, 8, okay. if I multiply some constant, say consider a is equal to 3 here, okay, then 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 6 and 3 times 8, so which is equal to 6, 9, 18 and 24. Okay, so you can see that these all are distinct elements. Okay, if I multiply these elements with some integer or some real number, okay, then also resulting set will be distinct here. Okay, so this is meaning of these sentences. So next, suppose these AIs are not distinct. Okay, then what will happen? You can see that suppose these are not distinct means if I consider these elements, say AAI equal to A times AJ, okay, means they are same. Okay, means there exists at least one pair of elements which are same. So which implies A times AI minus AJ equal to 0. Okay, but we know that R is an integral domain, therefore A must be non-zero here. Okay, suppose A is non-zero implies AI minus AJ must be equal to 0. So which implies AI equal to AJ. Okay, so here if they are not distinct means there exists at least one pair which are same. Okay, with this result we have to prove that all these AIs are distinct. Okay, so next, hence we can say that this set A times A1, A times A2 and so on, A times AN coincide with the ring R. Okay, so in particular so this set will coincide with R because R containing non-zero elements, okay, which are distinct. Okay, so if I multiply those elements with some constant, then both will coincide each other. Okay, so in particular, if I consider A times AK equal to say A for some K. Okay, so suppose this is true. Here you can say that A belongs to R and A times AK belongs to this set, say this is S. So here I am going to prove that S is equal to R here. Okay, so we shall show that this AK is the unit element. Okay, this AK is the unit element of R. So let us consider some element, say AJ belongs to R with then we can write AJ equal to A times AI for some I here. Okay, so next, so consider these multiplication of these two elements AJ and AK, so which can be written like this: AK times Aj. So which is equal to ak. My Aj is what? A times Ai. So which can be written like this: ak times A times Ai. So A times A. So again I can rearrange like this: A times ak times Ai. So A times ak is equal to A here. So A times Ai. So A times Ai is equal to my Aj here. Okay. So you can see that I started with Aj times ak, which is equal to Aj. That is what ak is an identity element. Okay. Identity element. Okay. So identity element is what? A times E is equal to E times A equal to A. So here I am taking A equal to Aj, okay, and E is equal to ak. If I apply this, I will get same element. Okay. Therefore, so next step. So here we can write thus ak is an unit element of R, and we know that unit element is always unique. Okay. And we shall denote it as 1. Okay. So let us consider some non-zero element A in R. Okay. Then A times ak is equal to ak times A is equal to A times ak is equal to A here. Further, let us consider A is non-zero and A belongs to R. Then A times A1, so is equal to A1 times A is equal to 1. Okay. Since one for some A1 belongs to R here. Okay. Not belongs to R, for some A1. Okay. A1 can take any element. So which implies that thus A has an inverse element. Okay. A has an inverse element with respect to multiplication. Okay. So here first I have proved that ak is an unit element, and for any non-zero element A in R, I can show that A times A1 equal to A1 times A equal to 1 for some A1. So which implies that A equal to A1 inverse or A1 equal to A inverse, means inverse exists for every element, every non-zero element. Okay. So which implies that every finite integral domain is a field here. Okay, so this completes the proof of the theorem. So as an application of this result, consider a corollary. Consider a corollary, that is, for any prime p, Zp is a field. Okay, so here Zp is a this is a ring of congruence class modulo P here. So this is a corollary of previous result. So consider proof of this corollary. Here we know that Zp is an integral domain. Okay, so this is an integral domain because if I consider any two product of any two non-zero element, suppose this is equal to 0 means, that is AB equal to 0, then P divides A or P, because P is a prime number here, A or P. So P divides A or P divides here P divides A or P divides B here. Okay, so that is this is equal to 0 or this is equal to 0. So which implies that hence Zp is an integral domain. Since Zp is finite, okay, therefore this is a finite integral domain. Zp is a finite integral domain. So according to my previous result, this is a field. Okay, so every finite integral domain is a field. So with this I conclude today's talk. So if you have any doubts or any questions, please leave your comments below in the comment box. Thank you.